If you're joining the presentation, I'll just help you out. Please come close to the monitor up here. It is not a massive screen, and we're going to be showing some pictures. Anything that's on the screen we can also share later. And there's drawings up here they'll talk about, but just come sit as close as you can on this side to the screen. That'll have your best chance of seeing what's happening. We'll get started in just a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Check. Hello. Hello.
Joe, how are you? Good to see you. I'll get it. This one's still working? Yes. Good morning. Hey, Tim, there we go. I switched back. Good morning. Wow, that got hot. Okay. Welcome, everybody. It is wonderful to have you here. This is a project that, as you are probably aware, has been under development for a very long time. So we started talking about an elevator edition. The first time I found this in our literature was 1954. So that is about to be 70 years ago that we started talking about an elevator edition for what was not even yet then the Cathedral of St. James. So it's been a long time coming, and through the processes that have gotten us to this point, first of all, there have been several interim steps toward disability access that were undertaken with both the technology but also the space that we had available to us at the time, including the addition of the ramp in the back, which was done at some point. I'm not certain, somebody in here may know. But also the original chairlift that went to Cathedral Hall from the courtyard. That was the scariest apparatus in the history of handicap accessibility. It did not break down every week, which was good, but still scary. So we have made strides, including putting the platform lift in and beginning conversations that were already happening when I got here 15 and a half years ago about an addition of an elevator. We were working at that time, sorry, Mr. Dzierla, with the Troyer Group, and we quickly learned that plan that they had given us was not workable. And so it was sometime around 2013 that we retained Joe Dzierla as our architect. And the initial plans that we had the elevator additions going out this side into the north parking lot. And what we found was that none of those solutions was workable because we were really trying to gain access to the entire campus. So to all 3 levels in the office building and to both levels of this building. The renovation in 2018, which Joe was integrally involved in, was an interim step again with what we could afford to do at the time, which did give us access to this entire level for the first time in our history. And if you remember, that was all about bathrooms. Our bathrooms were horrible. And not only were they handicap inaccessible, they were nowhere I wanted to go in. They were just dingy, old, outdated, and really not very functional. So we began by saying, how do we renovate the restrooms? That was Joe's original commission. And then we did everything else around it and got us to where we are today. The genius of that plan, see now I'm pandering. Yeah, the genius of that plan was that we knew that the elevator addition would come eventually, so the design of that building accommodated that. But we can also tell you that in every iteration, and Steve Wheatstock will give me an amen on this, that we know everywhere in this campus that you cannot put an elevator. We've tried everywhere. So on this side of the building, between the buildings, those things can't be done. And so we have come to this point where we have settled on where it can be done, and that's what we're going to show you. So I'm going to hand off to Liz at this point, who's going to lead you through the slides, and then we'll go to Joe.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Joe, for being here today. And so, again, if you didn't catch that, he is responsible for designing all the updates we've had so far. So I would like to thank you for that, first of all. So Gather and Grow is kind of a continuation of the Heritage and Hope, if you don't know. So it is our capital plan. That's the name that we've given it. We have been meeting and talking to other people for about a year now. I know part of my job was catching up to speed with what's been done so far. A lot of these things that we've been doing as a parish have been feeding, so the parish tours, even the interviews the little cards that we filled out last January, I guess it was, a lot of that has been feeding into this, into our process. We are going to just be talking about one part of it today, but I want you to know that there are plans, discussions we've been talking about kind of in broad scopes. There are some things we need to do in this space here, particularly to do with accessibility, so sound and light. We know that we have got a long ways to go to bring those up to, where you can actually see and hear things properly. We've got so we're working on some ideas for the cathedral hall and for the kitchen. So just so you know, and we are so excited to talk to you about those things, and we will do so probably in the next couple of months. So we're not starting from scratch on those things. I just wanted you to know there's so many nice things, fun things to tell you about. And I hope there will be other faces besides mine that are going to be up here talking about them over the next few months. But today we're going to just be talking about what really is the most kind of the central and first project, because if we can't get to all of our building, it doesn't matter what we do to the other parts, they're not accessible. And so this really has been very quickly identified. Again and again, it keeps coming back to we've got to do something about the elevator. So again, and this is continuing the Heritage and Hope theme of accessibility. That continues to be our primary goal, but we're also looking at functionality and some aesthetics too. But so that is, then the number one priority is to at first be able to get to the whole building. And the second thing, well, I guess that is it. So accessibility, we've got to get to the whole building. So Joe kind of came in and joined us on this, I think it was last spring, when we finally had identified that this is probably something that we're going to need to go right into this discussion of the elevator first. And we had several considerations, and I think, did a really nice job of addressing them with the plans that we're going to let him share with you in a minute. First of all, is the challenge of serving all 3 levels of our campus when we've got, 2 buildings stuck together, and the 3rd floor is only on the other building, so that's a biggie. And at this point, there is no way except for stairs to get to the top level. And as we know, it's still awkward. We do have a stair lift. There are some ways to get down, but that's awkward too. So we really are not fully able to get to all 3 levels without an elevator. Of course, very important that be as economical as possible and as functional as possible. And that means balancing some things. There are codes to be considered, and again, working with an architect is really helpful in knowing about that. Everything from what you need to do if you have an emergency on the upper or lower floor, if you have somebody that needs to get in with a stretcher, and how you do that on an elevator. And that includes things like pivoting. There's a lot of considerations for that. The fact that we need a certain number of stairwells, even if we have an elevator, and the stairs, my understanding is they have to be a certain distance away, all of that. So we very much understand the importance of the butterfly garden. So that will be a part of another, because we're really just talking, like I said, there's several different parts to this conversation. But our intention is we want to keep the butterfly garden in some form. And then again, as Father Brian said, there's only one location for the elevator that was possible. So that's why it is where it is, which is on the far side of the building. So, all right, so I want to explain a little bit about the budget. We're throwing these numbers out kind of early in this conversation. We don't want to focus on this, but just as a ballpark to kind of give you an idea. Like I said, we're talking about several different kind of broad areas in the campus that we know need improvements and that would be part of improving that accessibility, starting with the elevator. This ballpark figure of about 750,000, that is kind of what we're going to have to tweak that number less, so we're not sticking to that precisely, but that's kind of the ballpark, again, for all of our projects that we're going to do. So starting with that, the elevator itself, which is going to involve, there's no place we can just pop an elevator in the middle of the floor somewhere. We have to build an extension to the building. So the elevator and that extension and all of the costs associated, we do have a rough budget, and again, that may change a little bit depending on when we break ground, but about $500,000. So it's also important to know that from Heritage and Hope, we have a designated pot of money in our budget that can only be used for our capital plan. That was part of Heritage and Hope. That was what was left that brought forward that we can apply to our current plan, and that was about $248,000. So we have that money in hand right now. So to build the elevator, we need an additional $250,000, and then the additional funds to complete the other project, or all projects together, is about $500,000. So that's about the number that we're going to be looking at when we talk about our capital campaign. Would be raising $500,000 overall, starting with the $250,000 that we need for the second half of the elevator. Happy to talk about that later. I think we don't have the firm numbers yet, but we wanted to put that out there just so you kind of see the big picture and know that we do have other things that we're working on and that we are really excited to bring forward to you all and see how you think, and I think bringing people into those conversations. But that's where we are for the budget. So, all right, this is the exciting part. I don't know if so Joe, you have a, we have Father Brian wielding the crozier. Is that a verge? Okay, I've got to use the right. I was not a cradle Episcopalian, so I'm still learning these things. We found out a laser pointer didn't work very well. Because we're streaming, I think what we'll do is we'll start with kind of presenting the pictures that we have and explaining, and then we will have a chance for questions. You can also ask questions after each slide. I will repeat the question just so that they can hear this, the people that are watching this online. But other than that, I'm going to sort of step back now and let Joe take it away.
Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me an opportunity to work as your trusted advisor for your project and your project needs. Second of all, I just want to say it. My dad was a World War II vet. If there are any veterans, thank you for your service for our country. I know my dad made a big impression on me about how important it was for our military. So I just wanted to get that out.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, on this particular side, it's a site plan. I'll go through a bunch of different things maybe on the enlarged floor plans of this, but so your site plan, so you can see that right now that's the main entry, I guess, right now for the facility for the bishop and administrative staff. We're trying to make a new entrance off of the West Washington, and so you can kind of see, you'll walk in through this area, and you can see I know the butterfly gardens and everything are pretty important for everybody. This new scheme allows, I'm going to say a little more order to that area there, the garden areas. And also, there's an area in this middle area here is for either a cross or some semblance for your church. Actually, this new scheme allows a new identity. That's the thing too. It defines a main entrance, for the facility, as well as working in this elevator. I will say that this is not an easy fix for the elevator. I mean, Brian's been talking to me about this for really years, and when we did the last set of drawings, he always said, keep in your mind where we're going to put this new elevator. But I feel really comfortable that this is probably the only place this elevator is going to go without tearing up a bunch of whole things, unless somebody has found a couple of $1 million worth of money to do something else. So. I'm really comfortable with this scheme. I know I was excited when I presented it to Brian and Liz, the first time. So maybe if we go to the next scheme, okay. Is that actually, there's the next one, the floor plan. That's the elevations. Well, this is okay. We can leave this up here. You can kind of see the new identity for it. Really, the tall one is actually your elevator, the shaft of the elevator going up, and main entry. And you can see that it actually sets back. It actually goes up to the second floor. And I know if you have questions, there isn't a dumb question. So if you have one, just throw it out there. I'll answer it best I can. But we're breaking through areas in the building where there are already openings. There's already a window opening in there, but it's still going to cost some money. I will tell you that probably $250,000 is probably going to be the shaft of the elevator and the cost of the elevator alone. The elevator is large enough to move furniture. It's a 3,500-pound elevator, if that doesn't mean anything to you, but you can get a full-size gurney in there. You can get desks and move things out of there rather than having to move furniture down all the steps that you have. So, and allow a good number of people to get in there with wheelchair, et cetera. This is your east building elevation, which is your main out here, and you can see that's original building. This door right here, by the way, with the new entry, Brian and I have talked about simplifying the existing stairway that's in there. It's a little bit interesting. You have to actually kind of walk down or walk up to get back up into the stairway itself. So when you're coming down from another floor, you have to actually go down steps and then come back up, and it's a little bit awkward. So that's another thing. I don't know if we have enough money to do it, but we could actually do away with that door and make it a window and have it at like a landing of the stairwell in there. I don't know, we could price it as an alternate if we bid it out. But so that will no longer be the main entry door. And so coming back to maybe if we could come back to the enlarged floor plan, this will work in here. So you can see, a vestibule entry in here. Reception desk and a little waiting area, so the security's there. People get buzzed in. I think you can kind of see in here. It's a little bit interesting because actually there's a number of stops for the elevator. It does go to the basement, but you got to come in here, and actually to get up to the first floor level in there, you actually have to get in the elevator and come out on another landing to get to that area. it's, I don't know, it's about 3'6" or something like that. It's relatively that much height difference, and that's the reference for the stairs in there. So other people can just come in, walk in the stairs, and then go up to that first floor level there. Does anybody have any questions on that? So I know if you're not used to looking at floor plans or whatever, you know, feel free to ask a question.
Bishop. Okay, the question is, are there any plans to do anything with the courtyard? You mean the courtyard in between that one?
Between the buildings or out here?
Between the two buildings, whether this plan is addressing anything with that courtyard in between?
It does not. That's another scope of work.
Where the reception desk is it's on the ground level. So as you come in, and that because there's no floor in this building that's at ground level. That's one of the trick that we had. So that is that area. You come in this two-door vestibule, and then there's this whole level that Father Brian is pointing to. That's all at ground level, and then there's a sort of a half of a stairway that takes you up to get to the level that we're all sitting in right now. Yeah. That took me a while to kind of... Does that answer? Yeah.
So for all intents and purposes, receptionist, is that Joe?
We don't know.
So the question was just, is that reception area just Joe? We're working on some of that, the security and the refigure. There's a group of people that are, because whether we do already have a security, way to buzz people in. So at the minimal, moving that over. But there are some other. Those are all good questions that are.
Kirk, out of the gate, my thought is that that's not a good place for Joe as the administrator because he needs to have access to the office technology, but it may be a good place for a volunteer or a part-time receptionist who would staff the door for us. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking, but we don't know. We haven't really gone through all that yet.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, so the elevator actually has 4 levels?
It does, yeah.
Question was just clarifying that it is a 4-stop elevator. Yeah.
It does. Yes.
On the first slide of the outside, you had a sidewalk in from the parking lot but not overlooking.
Yeah, looking back at the access with the sidewalks on the first slide.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There isn't, but we have discussed this, and actually Joe has discussed it as well, that there needs to be. We know that, yeah.
Thank you, good question. Good question if we're talking about accessibility. Any other questions so far?
We were also going to modify that a little bit of that parking lot that's in there. I mean, there's kind of some unknowns down in there. When they tore down the other building, there's some secret things might be hiding underneath the ground there that we don't know about. No oil tanks or anything like that. That's all been taken care of. But there might be some concrete things in there. I don't know. But we're going to have to modify that so handicap parking will take place in that area. Okay. So I know that was a question that Liz mentioned to me earlier.
Kim, did you have?
The very, very first, well, maybe the one that showed the view from the south, yes. It looks like you've retained, one of the things we love about the project that you did originally is the amount of light that comes into the classrooms in that hallway. It looks like this preserves that. Can you speak to that?
It does. These are pretty large windows. You can see this is my scale man in there, and he's 6'1", which is what I used to be. But so I mean, these are really, really tall windows, and there's going to be a lot of light in there. And it's the whole thing is not, I wouldn't say 100% developed. Okay, I mean that'll come in the next round for construction documents. But I think this will allow them, a lot of things. In that whole front entryway. I was concerned about keeping enough light in there too as well in all the rooms, because right now it's really lit up in all the other floors. But you can see the one at the top's preserved, and so
And Kim, when we get to a little further down, you're going to see the genius of this plan really is the hallway that has windows on the outside to continue to allow light into that little bump out and keeps the windows that we already have on the inside. So it's really well thought out. Yeah.
Joe didn't see this drawing. I made this drawing. Because I was trying to conceive of how this elevator works. So it has to be a two-door elevator because at the ground level, it's going to be, if you think of like the front door and the back door of the elevator, at the ground level, it's going to open in the front. All the other floors, it will open in the back. And there's no other way, unless you came in, because you just have those few feet of difference between when you come in and how you get to the bottom, the upper and lower part. The other thing that I had to make a drawing so I could understand it is how the doors work. There's two doors, but they have to be at an angle, and that has to do with, particularly if you've got an emergency, a stretcher or something, to get in and out of the elevator. You just don't have enough room to do a pivot if the doors are exactly opposite each other. So the front door will open into that ground level entry. The back door will open into all the 3 levels of our existing building. So that's what that drawing, I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything about that, but that's why I put this in here, because I needed it. Do you have a question? On the side view, there's a box on the wall. Was that in and he's asking about that. Was that in the previous? Okay, a box in the wall. Oh, the basement window, that glass box, is that what you're talking about? No. Okay. What is that?
That's probably just a scupper.
Scupper, yeah.
Scupper for overflow drainage from the roof. It's an overflow roof scupper.
Can we put a gargoyle there?
For your pledge. We can have a gargoyle.
It's a good thing it's there. They are required by code, so that's a good thing.
Gargoyles or scuppers?
Yes.
Scuppers.
Okay.
You can put a gargoyle up there.
Okay.
Okay, these are just a continuing of the slides then.
Yeah, this is the upper one. Well, you can see where they actually come out of the elevator on this little area here, and you can see that big window. It's just right below this elevator in here, so it still allows a lot of light in that area. There's going to be a lot of light. And you can see where the fireplace is in here, and the 2 side windows in there. And there's also one out off to the west up there. Maintains that, so I believe we're going to have enough light in there.
Do anybody want? Do you want Father Brian to point out where the rooms are to kind of get? Can
Let me
you
go
see
through
where we
this.
are? Yeah.
Okay, so this is where the stairs come up currently. This would be Joe's reception area right here, and this is the waiting area. This is the finance office, my office, Deacon Ann's office. This is the workroom. This is our little meeting room and diocesan offices 1, 2, 3, and the bishop's office back here, and the restroom. So this would come off into a little hallway, and then down here to this open area here that we would just, I think in the original plan we thought Joe would be downstairs, and we thought better of that. But we can reconfigure this so that Joe will be over here on this side of the room, and that really won't disrupt him, and actually will give him better access to the workroom. So we have some room to play up there. Either there or over here, actually. So we're just minor modification to what the existing floor plan is.
And again, look at those windows, because so we're coming. First, we thought he was going to have to come in through the fireplace, and then you'd lose that whole space.
Santa does.
Santa does. But on that 3rd floor, if you see the hallway, you come into the building through what is currently a window, but there's a window on the hall right opposite. So again, anytime a window is taken away, he tried to put a window somewhere else so that you can still get light coming in through that hallway.
This area out here is just the outline of the roof, just so you know, okay? Because it's kind of a little bit confusing if you're not used to looking at drawings. And also that cut through is an existing window. We're basically going to just cut that down to the floor level and take it out. So, and realistically, they could, I think for the most part, they can almost build this whole thing without interrupting the other space until we're ready for the cut through. So everybody can kind of stay in there, the bishop and everybody else, and then they'll take out the interior walls for the breakthrough. Other than just the annoyance of noise, but. And this is a basement.
Basement,
Yep.
yeah.
So this is where it comes down to the basement. It's basically this portion that's built on. I think it's like 256 or some square feet. It's not a lot of square feet that you're actually adding on in this basement area in here. But they'd actually come out in this other little hallway in here and then come through that and come through. The one area is out in here is the elevator controller, and this is just keeping a storage room intact. So they actually come in here and out and then over to the hall.
Through to Cathedral Hall.
I'm sorry, can you please identify those stairs and rectangles?
Youth room,
Identifying the
youth lounge. This is the mechanical room, so HVAC for the lower level. This is the IT closet, and this is currently one large storage closet where the diocesan and cathedral archives are. We will cut that in half, but we gain that much again over here. So what we lose here will just open into the hallway, and you'll come off and kind of diagonal into here. These are, I think, well, I don't think, they're load-bearing walls, so we can't change those. Otherwise, it would be much nicer, but
Kirk.
The staircase that leads to the new storage room you just pointed out.
The staircase is the staircase.
that's the stairs coming down into here, and this is where that little cupboard under the stairs is here, and then the hallway. Yeah, so this is down, not that doesn't go into here.
Point again
Right
where
there.
the elevator. Yeah. What is the circle, the dotted circle you see in several of these drawings?
Those are 5-foot circles for handicap. It's just a symbol that ADA uses in all their talks and things. So, correct.
Well, when one of those doors swings open, it cuts into that circle.
Well, there a door that's going to cut into that circle?
It.
Any ordinance?
Well, it was just, we were just showing a door in there. Those doors, well, I mean, they're storage, so they won't be open probably when somebody's in there. It's for maintenance, more or less. But it's a good question because, yes, you are allowed to have actually doors that are active open up into the circle in some instances. So that's actually a good question. So, but for the most part, these doors are going to be closed all the time. And this breakthrough opening is one of the blocks, the block windows. If you go out on the side there and see that, they one of the block windows. So we're just going to cut that down and cut the basement wall out below that area.
Great questions. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I don't think, do we have any other, is that it for this?
What's a timeline for start and finish of
Timeline. Oh, Kirk, what a great question.
not calendar, we're going to start this on this date, but how long from
Oh, okay. So once you start this project, how long might it take to finish?
I'd probably label it between 6 and 7 months. Once you order your elevator and, depending on which one we use, there's about 3 companies or more out there, for that. I don't know what the lead time it is on elevators, but normally it'd be a couple months or something after you order it. But I think on the other materials and everything else, it's probably going to be a 6 or 7 month project. Again, most of it can be done while work stays on a normal day for you guys, and other than the annoyance of noise.
We ordered the front doors a year ago, so yeah. Yeah.
Celeste has got her hand up. Okay, the question is just kind of orienting, what are we looking at with those double doors down there? What part of the,
So these are the bulkhead doors so the chairlift comes down right here, right? So these are the bulkhead doors, which Joe also said maybe we could clean up and do something better there. And this wall is actually right here, so that was a change in the on the fly change in the last round. So this room actually extends into here, so we're gonna have to do something there too. But yeah, we'll fix this with automatic opening doors, and then honestly, as soon as we have that, the platform lift can go away. I'm tired of fixing it.
and it sticks out. Anybody else have a, Bishop Frank?
That's Cathedral
What is
Hall.
that?
Yeah, that's right here to Cathedral Hall. There you go.
Yeah, it's a labyrinth down there. Are we adding doors?
Yeah, there aren't any right now, are
There
there?
aren't any now.
Sure.
We have work to do on the Cathedral Hall and on some of this navigating too. We've talked about, we don't have signs, so there's quite a lot of work to be
Well,
done down there, including, yeah.
And we have also had a conversation, a broader conversation about security that we have not completed yet. And the addition of doors in strategic places is part of that conversation. So,
I just want to add on to that. Addition and deletion, right? We don't want to over-confuse
yeah,
it, so we need key points where they will lock
yep,
and key points where there is no barrier.
right.
Yeah, so might take out some doors too.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe?
Again, it's a kind of a minimalist scheme, but again, it will take care and service your needs. I think, we could spend more money if we can find it. That's easy to do, but I think it handles all your project needs, or at least what I've heard from, staff and Brian, what some of your needs are. So we haven't done construction drawings on it yet, so it's not final. But if you have any things, I don't know if I should say that, but if you have any other requests or something that maybe some ideas that we may need, as long as it doesn't concern a whole bunch of square footage, because square footage is money. We just took a budget. Everything is more money. You can go anywhere and everything is more money. I would say that we did this in May. We put out a budget number based on other qualitative work that we've done with contractors, and we came up with that budget. Things have gone up. Mostly labor has gone up. It's hard to find a mason these days. And I would hate to see
Notre Dame.
So I hate to think that we wouldn't put masonry on the outside of this building. I think, it deserves that, especially with, the church and everything else. And so I definitely want you to keep that in there, but I would say that hopefully we're going to be around that number,
Al?
What's that? What's the capacity? Kind of depends on, there's a little wiggle room in how big of an, we need at least a 3,000, I think, for.
Yeah. I think right now we're trying to put in a 3,500 capacity, 3,500 pound.
That's a pretty big elevator.
Could go, we could probably, I know they have some 2,500. I'd like to stay a little bit larger than that, so I know your future needs of furniture and everything else will be handled. And then they may have some restrictions with the two-door thing. I think that's why we stayed with the 35, because they were an easier elevator to find with the two doors. So.
That's what the Otis guy told me. Yeah.
Christopher?
I think some people are familiar with the elevator at St. Margaret's House.
How does this compare with the St. Margaret's House elevator, which is a freight elevator, isn't it?
No, it's a passenger elevator, but.
I've been in that elevator more than a couple times. This is night and day better than that one. That's all I can tell you. It's a larger elevator than that one. They say it's a freight, but I don't even know if it's that even.
I don't
that
think
big.
so.
It's
The
not
old
that
one
large.
was, yeah.
But it's a night and day difference. This one is a lot larger.
And I don't necessarily want to jump down this rabbit hole, but if you can go back to the whole site plan overview. So St. Margaret's House is also talking about, this is the Todd, or the annex, the Peterson annex. They are talking about tearing that off and building a new entrance also facing West Washington Street. That is wonderful. They have need of a better elevator. They have need of better visibility for when people are coming off the street. They currently cannot physically see who's coming to their door. They rely on cameras, but that is not adequate to their need. It's also not welcoming. So they have retained an architect to help them with that project, and the Cathedral chapter has been in conversation with them, working together to develop this project. So there's a really interesting time right now that we are in when we are both reorienting to West Washington Street, and really what was inconceivable not that long ago, but remaking the West Washington Street landscape. And so that's exciting, but it also presents a challenge for us in terms of parking and what we do with this space out here. So, but St. Margaret's House is talking about a 1, 2, or 3-story addition with a new elevator of their own. And theirs, unlike ours, is funded. So they're just waiting for the green light on their project.
Just, I want to make sure, so when you think of an elevator, there are elevators and there are elevators. This is a real, so there's a kind of an elevator that's really just a glorified lift, and they're quite small. And you might have think of some quaint little old apartment building that you've been at. This is not one of those. This will be and part of that is, if you think about 2 people carrying a stretcher, so you have the full dimensions of a stretcher and a person at each end, this will accommodate that. So it is I was actually in my son's apartment building, I looked, it's a 2,500-pound elevator, and it easily fit, 6 people. So it's a lot bigger, for instance, than the elevator that's in the Notre Dame Library. Those are like little old elevators. This is bigger than that. We don't want to oversize it, of course. So again, that's part of the, but we do want to make sure that we are not undersizing either, because we want it to be a robust solution for, that meets all these different considerations. And that might be, we wanted to a picture. We can do some pictures. I like pictures. Thank you, Celeste. So, and I'm rephrasing. If I get it wrong, you let me know. Celeste is pointing out that we are both a parish and a cathedral, and we host big events. We have a lot of people that are needing assistance that maybe, I have a hard time with stairs already, and I'm not using a wheelchair. But we part of our, and this is again something that we've been talking about, is what is our mission of just radical hospitality and welcome. And again, this allows us to do that. And as I think you're also saying, is we don't want to do it, we don't want to we don't want to go small, don't want to go too big, but we also want to make sure that we are meeting our needs. Bishop Frank. Again. Okay, he's asking about adding money to do the kitchen, and have we talked to the diocese about helping with funding? Would you like to take that one?
I will take that one. First of all, we've received one $10,000 grant already for the kitchen. We are applying for a second $10,000 grant for the kitchen that we will definitely receive because the only criteria is that we asked for it. So that's coming up in February of next year. So we are already thinking about the kitchen. That's to replace appliances, but the whole Cathedral Hall kitchen area is part of this consideration because the aesthetics in Cathedral Hall just need to be updated, but the kitchen itself needs to be completely redone. It might be the next project for Matthew and the retirees. We'll see. But how's your metal work? So anyway, the diocese will be approached in a couple of ways. One, we have already, part of that $248,000 that we have, $100,000 of that was from a donor in Valparaiso. So that was a gift that we solicited from somebody that I knew. There will be more of that with me going around to the diocese and asking people I know for contributions to the cathedral. And we, as long as we are the cathedral, and I assume we are going to continue to be that, we are going to play that hand and say, this is who we are, this is our ministry, this is what we do. So we want your help making this possible and as good hosts for the Episcopal Diocese of Northern Indiana as well. We are also going to approach the Diocesan Foundation about a loan. We're also talking about approaching the there's an Episcopal Church Building Fund at the national level. We are also talking about approaching them as well. So that will be a part of the Gather and Grow Capital Campaign Committee's work, and that committee is forming right now. So, Catherine, and I'm cognizant of time, so if this can be the last one, and then we will, any other questions after this, if you have, you're welcome to come up. They are required. So, I'm sorry, Liz, go ahead, repeat the question.
If the St. Margaret's House is taking the Todd, where are we going to keep our garden tools and our compost heap? And there's a lot of other stuff in there too. Yes.
So we have committed to downsizing what we need in that space for the cathedral and the diocese. We have a lot of stuff we just don't need. St. Margaret's House has committed to providing storage space for us because they know we're losing that space. So that's part of their commitment in building their new building is that, or building their addition, is that they accommodate the storage needs of the cathedral and the diocese. But we are doing that at a significantly reduced square footage requirement for our storage needs. So we are aware of that. No church ever in the history of churches has enough storage space. So that was part of that conversation from the very beginning.
Thank you for asking that. So I don't know. Oh.
Tim?
I plan to scroll the slides, probably in a 10-second gap on the live stream at the very end.
Okay.
Everything you saw on the screen, if you want to go online and look, the live stream has it. But at the very end, I'll just want to scroll for a couple minutes. You can pause and do whatever you want to call.
Okay. Well, our half-hour meeting is at 1 hour. So thank you all so much. And just if we may, once again, appreciation for Joe. And thank you.
We do have the paper plans that are good size. If you want to come and look kind of more in depth, they're sitting right up here. And
I have a smaller one too.
There's a smaller set. So we've got a couple sets if you want to look at. They will be online. We're going to try to make these available. But so if you want to linger and look at them, feel free. Otherwise, we will have other opportunities online for you to see these things. Thank you.